So, Showbiz the adult put out extensive videos saying that Floyd Mayweather is not the greatest boxer of all time. He's not the greatest boxer of all time. He's not the greatest boxer of all time. And then, not only did he do that, but he made a two-part series on that. And then after that, did a response video to viewers who were outraged, some of them, that Floyd was not classed as the greatest boxer of all time. It wasn't classed as the GOAT. Think of Floyd's accomplishments, 50 and 0. Think of his accomplishments, 5 different divisions, 5 different weight classes. Think of his accomplishments. He beat everybody of his era that he was supposed to beat. Think of his accomplishments. That he was a guy that holds 2 unified belts in 2 different divisions at the same time. Think of his accomplishments that he beat Manny Pacquiao, arguably. So, Showbiz tries to explain this. Here's his explanation. His explanation is that Jack Johnson, he fought in an era when black fighters were not heavyweight champions. He was the first heavyweight champion in boxing. And Jack Johnson fought at a time when a black man wins a fight and black people celebrate, they get lynched. Jack Johnson started dating white women. And they made the man law to make it illegal so that he had to leave the country. And he couldn't fight heavyweight championships because he kept on beating one after the other great white hope. But Jack Johnson did not face many black fighters once he became heavyweight champion. He never provided the opportunities because at that point in time, white fighters rarely faced black fighters because there was this idea in the minds of many white people that the white man was superior to the black man, that the black man was just an animal, that he didn't have sense, because he was not smart, he could not, so that the black fighters were segregated from the white fighters. This is back in the 1920s. And Jack Johnson became the heavyweight champion of the world, slick as ever. Outsmart his opponent, wear his opponent down, and finally stop his opponent. He talked about Joe Gans, the very first black American fighter to become a world champion. The science that he used, his scientific skills, his scientific mind that he applied to his boxing. If he lost a fight, he'd go back and he would actually troubleshoot his game plan, adjust his game plan, come back better, and win his rematches. He talked about Harry Kreb, a guy who started off at middleweight, ended up fighting at light heavyweight and beating light heavyweights. And then this was a guy that beat names, real named fighters, Hall of Famers, great fighters, good fighters. Once again, there was segregation between the black and white community, so he didn't face all the great black fighters. Then we got Sam Langford, coming up from lightweight, going all the way up to heavyweight, facing heavyweights and actually getting wins over them. Again, because of segregation, he didn't really face some of the other legitimate fighters out there. But he faced really good fighters and great fighters as well. Guys like McVeigh and Wills, all at heavyweight. Joe Gans at lightweight. Guys like Barbados Joe Walcott. Guys like Ralph Jones. Guys like Jose Napoles. great heavyweight champion that challenged himself and went up to middleweight to face the great Carlos Monzon. When you talk about great, what are you talking about? Guys who, under certain conditions, the heat, small gloves, guys who were ostracized, like Muhammad Ali, for his stand, guys who influenced the world and how the world thought about religion and people and places. Ali was the guy that changed our perception of many things. He was a pop icon beyond boxing. We got Manny Pacquiao, a guy who is assisting in world affairs, also a congressman, a senator, also a man who's involved in many other disciplines, including basketball. He's formed his own league. A man who is in acting and singing, in world assisting projects with the United Nations. Is Floyd Mayweather greater than these guys? Listen to this argument. And to you, I want to say definitively that he is 100% right. He's 100% right, guys. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is not the GOAT. He's not the greatest of all time. He can never be the greatest of all time. And he never will be the greatest of all time. That I honestly can tell you. The greatest of all time involves your perception of who the greatest of all time is. It's how these boxes have affected you as fans, that you said, this man is the greatest of all time. Bearing in mind that you know about the previous history of boxing and how many great boxers that came before you. Because there are many people in their own era who would have said, this boxer is the greatest of all time. I think the fans really assessed that. But at the end of the day, the greatest of all time has to do with all the achievements of the boxer. It encompasses everything from inside the ring to what they have done for society outside the ring that makes them great. George Foreman put it best. He thinks that Floyd Mayweather, if they were at the same weight, would have beaten Muhammad Ali. But when it comes to Muhammad Ali as a person, he's a great man. And I think that pretty much sells the idea of the greatest of all time. Now, commonly and popularly, most people think that Muhammad Ali is the greatest of all time. It depends on your criteria. I personally think that he's the greatest of all time. I will tell you why. If you go right now and you search on Google for the greatest sportsman of all time, you will find Muhammad Ali's name. You will not find Jack Johnson's name. You will not find Joe Gann's name. Now, there's a reason why you don't find their names. There are several reasons, but one of the reasons is that Joe Gans was a he was someone who caused people, it was controversial. He was controversial, and therefore people's opinions of it was split down the middle. In fact, even in his own black community, certain people were against him in his black community. And there was a great section of the black community that thought he did not really care about the black community, you know. And so different notable names in black culture and black history actually spoke on the fact that they denounced what he was doing. In fact, Jack Johnson was so not desired that it didn't come back. The next great heavyweight champion that came up, which was Joe Louis, had to be the absolute opposite of what Jack Johnson was. Outspoken, flashy, dating white woman, a man with style and pizzazz and slickness and smoothness inside the ring. And he would laugh when he's beating his white opponents. They were easy work. Jack Johnson was not as popular as Muhammad Ali is today because the world had not caught up with how brilliant he was. Was he a brilliant boxer? Yes. Was he controversial? Yes. Was he someone that drew the majority of white America? Yes. But they did not come to see him win. They came to see him lose. They even formed laws to try and stop him from fighting in the United States. That's how offensive he was to the white community. Would Jack Johnson have been as popular as Floyd Mayweather is today? Probably. Floyd also brought controversy, as did Muhammad Ali and several others. But the world has embraced Floyd, and definitely the world embraced Muhammad Ali after understanding where Muhammad Ali was coming from. And he had a lot to contribute to the world. That's why he's so well loved. And its evolution. When Jack Johnson fought, there was segregationism. Blacks were not free to vote. Black people were not free to express themselves. Jack Johnson decided, fuck all that. And he expressed himself even though he was penalized for it. Muhammad Ali came at a different time. Still a time where people were getting lynched. Still in a time where people were being unfairly treated. Black people were fighting for the right to vote, for franchise. They were fighting for the right to be equally sitting in the same space with white people. And Muhammad Ali came in that time. And he took certain stands which were powerful. Not only that, but he was always outspoken. And he was accepted more outside the U.S. first before he was accepted within the U.S. Muhammad Ali's, the toll that it took on his boxing and so on, he was just great. He had great fights as well. Exciting, great fights. You just can't beat Muhammad Ali when you talk about the greatest. No matter who you talk about, whether it's a white fighter like Jack Dempsey, whether it's a black fighter like Sam Langford, Muhammad Ali is greater than them all because Muhammad Ali was able to impact the entire fucking world in a manner that went beyond boxing. That is why Muhammad Ali is the greatest. And that is beautiful. When somebody can transcend a sport and bring to the world even something greater than that, that person is special. There are very few people that could do that. So Muhammad Ali is probably going to be the greatest of all time for a very long time. Manny Pacquiao's creeping up on it, but I doubt he's going to pass it. But he's up there with Muhammad Ali, no doubt about it. Helping out his people in the Philippines. He's definitely the greatest Filipino boxer of all time. He is the greatest of this era. And he's probably going to be the greatest of several eras. But when it comes to Muhammad Ali, it's going to be hard for anybody to touch that. He's in a class all his own. On that note, you guys have a great one.